He knows where I live, a tale of suspense.
It started with a feeling. You know that prickling sensation on the back of your neck, like someone's watching?
I told myself it was nothing, just paranoia from walking home alone at night. But I was wrong. I first noticed him at the grocery store. A man, tall and thin, wearing a dark hoodie. He wasn't doing anything, just standing a few aisles over, staring. I brushed it off. Maybe he was looking at something behind me. But then I saw him again. At the coffee shop 2 days later, sitting at a table outside. He wasn't drinking anything, just facing the door, waiting. My stomach twisted when I realized he was wearing the same hoodie. Still, I told myself it was a coincidence. Until I got home. I live on the 3rd floor of an old apartment building. You have to go through 2 locked doors to get inside. That night, as I fumbled for my keys, I felt it again, that prickle. I turned around and there he was. Standing across the street, just beyond the streetlight's glow, watching. I slammed my door shut and locked it. My hands were shaking as I checked the peephole. Nothing. He was gone. I barely slept that night. The next morning, I found something that made my blood run cold. A single sticky note pressed against my apartment door. Nice place. I called the police, but they couldn't do anything. Do you know him? 'Cause he threatened you? They asked. I hadn't, and he hadn't. Call us if something happens. Something did. That night, as I was lying in bed, I got a text from an unknown number. You forgot to lock your window. My window. My bedroom window. My breath caught in my throat. My hands trembled as I reached for the lamp, flipping it on. The window was open. The curtain swayed in the cold night air. And on the windowsill was another note. I like watching you sleep. I moved out the next day. I packed everything I could fit into my car and drove 3 towns over to stay with my sister. I told myself I was safe. I had to be safe. A week passed. No notes, no texts, no feeling of being watched. Then one night, my sister and I were watching TV when my phone buzzed. Blocked number. I found you. My stomach dropped. My sister saw my face and grabbed the phone from my hands. Who is this? She demanded, but there was no reply. She insisted we call the cops again, and this time, they took it more seriously. They traced the number. It was from a prepaid phone, unregistered. They checked the security cameras near my old apartment, and that's when they saw him. Not just standing outside my building. Not just following me home. They saw him inside. The night before I moved out, around 3 a.m., the cameras caught a shadowy figure slipping through the side entrance, right after someone else walked in. He waited, stayed in the stairwell for nearly an hour, and then, while I was asleep, the grainy footage showed him stepping into my apartment. The door never opened. He was just there. I still don't know how he got in. I don't know what he did while I was sleeping. And worst of all, I never caught him. To this day, I check every lock 3 times. I don't stay anywhere with ground floor windows. And sometimes, when I'm alone at night, I swear I feel it again. That prickle, like someone's watching.
The devil rides at dusk. They say the West is full of ghosts. Some folks mean the kind that whisper through the canyons riding on the wind. Others mean the kind that walk among us, with blood on their hands and the devil in their eyes. I met one of those ghosts once. It was 1887, and I was a ranch hand outside of Abilene, Kansas. The kind of work where your bones ached by sundown, but at least you could sleep knowing you earned your bread. I wasn't much of a gunfighter, wasn't much of anything but good with horses and quicker than most with a rope. The man rode in just after sunset, a tall figure draped in a dust-covered duster, his hat pulled low enough that I couldn't see much of his face. He didn't come through town, didn't stop at the saloon. He came straight to the ranch like he knew where he was going. "Looking for work," he said, voice as dry as the prairie. The boss, Old Man Hargrove, sized him up. "Got any experience?" "A bit." Hargrove studied him a moment longer, then nodded toward the corral. "Let's see how you handle that stallion." Now that stallion was meaner than a rattler and twice as quick, had already thrown 3 of our best men that week. But this stranger, he climbed into the saddle, and it was like the horse knew better than to fight. He rode it clean, no jerks, no kicks, just a steady hand and a whisper. Hargrove hired him on the spot. We didn't know his name. He didn't offer it, and none of us were keen on asking. Folks just called him the Rider. He worked harder than any man on the ranch, but there was something about him, something that made your skin prickle when he was near. At night, he'd sit alone by the fire, staring into the flames like he saw something the rest of us couldn't. One night, I found him sharpening a long, thin knife, his hands moving slow, careful. He saw me watching and said, "Ain't just animals that need taming in these parts." Didn't sleep too good after that. Then the killings started. First was old Joe, a wrangler found dead near the river. Throat cut, eyes wide open like he'd seen the devil himself. Then 2 more men in town, both knifed the same way. The sheriff figured it was outlaws passing through, but I knew better. The rider never said much, but the night after the 3rd killing, he turned to me by the fire and said, real quiet like, "Some men don't belong in this world." That's when I saw it, the brand on his wrist, a mark I'd only seen once before. The U.S. Marshals used it for prisoners who escaped hanging. I didn't sleep that night, didn't even close my eyes. The next morning, the rider was gone. His bunk was empty, his horse missing. No one saw him ride out. The killing stopped. A month later, I rode into Abilene for supplies. The sheriff had a new wanted poster tacked up outside the jail. It was the rider's face. Turns out he was no ranch hand. He was a bounty hunter or something worse, a man who hunted killers but was a killer himself. They say he rode from town to town, finding men with blood on their hands and spilling theirs in return. Some folks say he's still out there, that when the sun sets and the wind howls just right, you can hear the sound of his horse's hooves riding through the dust. I don't know if it's true, but I never went looking to find out.
The vanishing signal. I didn't think much of it when my phone lost service driving through the mountains. It happens every time on this stretch of road, winding through the dense forest. The sun was setting, painting the sky in deep oranges and purples, but the shadows from the trees were growing longer, swallowing the light. The first sign that something was wrong came just past mile marker 32. My car's engine sputtered and died, coasting to a stop on the gravel shoulder. I stared at the dash in disbelief. I had just filled up at the last gas station, so it couldn't be that. I turned the key. Nothing. No clicks, no churns, just dead silence. I tried my phone, but of course, there was no signal. Annoyed but not panicked, I grabbed a flashlight from the glove compartment and stepped out. The air was crisp, and the forest seemed unnaturally still. No crickets, no rustling leaves, not even the distant call of birds. Just silence. I popped the hood and shone my light on the engine, not that I knew much about cars. Everything looked fine, no smoke, no loose wires. I was debating whether to start walking when I noticed it, a faint, rhythmic tapping sound coming from the woods. "Hello?" I called out, my voice shaky despite my efforts to sound calm. The tapping stopped. I swept my flashlight across the trees, but the beam barely penetrated the dense foliage. Just as I was about to turn back to the car, I saw it, a pale face peeking out from behind a tree. My heart jumped into my throat. "Hey," I shouted, stepping closer. "Do you need help?" The face disappeared behind the tree, and the tapping resumed, louder this time, echoing through the forest. My instinct screamed at me to get back in the car and lock the doors, but I felt drawn to the sound, compelled to know who, or what, was out there. I stepped off the road and into the woods, the beam of my flashlight bouncing with each step. The ground was soft, covered in moss and fallen leaves, and the trees loomed like dark sentinels. The tapping grew louder, faster, and then it stopped abruptly. That's when I saw it, A small, rusted metal box sitting on a tree stump. My flashlight reflected off its surface, making it gleam like a beacon in the darkness. I approached cautiously, every nerve in my body on edge. The box was locked with a heavy padlock, but there was no sign of a key. Before I could think about what to do next, a low, guttural growl froze me in place. I whipped around, shining my flashlight in every direction, but I saw nothing. The growl came again, closer this time. I bolted. Branches whipped at my face and arms as I tore through the forest, my breath coming in ragged gasps. I could hear something crashing through the underbrush behind me, gaining ground. My flashlight slipped from my hand, plunging me into darkness, but I didn't stop. When I broke through the tree line and onto the road, my car was gone. In its place was the rusted metal box, sitting in the middle of the asphalt. A new sound joined the pounding of my heart, the distant rumble of an engine. Maurice's headlights appeared around the bend, but the feeling was short-lived. The car wasn't slowing down. I jumped out of the way just in time as the vehicle sped past, its windows tinted so dark I couldn't see the driver. The car skidded to a stop farther down the road, and the reverse lights flickered on. I didn't wait to see what would happen next. I ran, leaving the box and everything else behind. The police found me hours later, wandering the road in a daze. They said there was no sign of my car or the box. I tried to explain what happened, but they looked at me like I was crazy. A few weeks later, I got a package in the mail. No return address. Inside was the rusted metal box, the padlock still intact, and a note that read, "You shouldn't have stopped." I keep the box in the back of my closet now, but some nights, I hear that tapping sound. It's closer every time.